can't believe they've done it. They've finally done it. They finally reprinted Flash.
They did. I know, crazy, right?
Where do you think I was going?
Someone sold their 4th Flash to Jim Davis at Oculus Vegas, and it's not my fault, Jim. I'm sorry. You got a good deal regardless, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you go.
I gave my extra entire Origins box to Cass, and I don't regret it at all.
That's true.
I don't regret it for even a second. I'd do it again if I had another one.
Do it again. I want to skirmish with
Even
those
the chibi
flashes
master
from that
you got
box.
given over.
There you go. I want a piece of that buy.
Yeah, it's too late. It's all spent up on Bologna.
Too late, but not too late for the Winning Point, episode number 40. I'm Blevins. That is Casanova. That is Charmer. And welcome back. Definitely wasn't removed from the call links.
Yep, that didn't happen.
Time. What's up, buddy?
Hello. I'm still alive, it turns out. Good to be back. Hopefully we'll be a little more consistent in these next few weeks, which is perfect because there's a lot of stuff happening in Riftbound these days.
Yeah. Is there anything happen that was like big recently?
Seems like it, yeah.
Not much, right?
I watched this podcast. They told me
they
what's
banned
happening.
7 cards. That's right.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about Blue Lilia. We waited so long for Blue Lilia.
Oh, yeah, Blue Lilia.
Everyone was waiting for.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have brought that up because we're not going to talk about Blue Lilia.
No,
we're going to talk
today.
about a lot of other things that aren't Blue Lilia. There's like 5 billion spoiler videos. Those are so old. Those are so outdated and old. They're not. Go watch them. But what you should also definitely check out is our amazing playmats over at shop.turnsideways.gg because we have awesome stuff. That Draven playmat did not get banned.
It's still legal for
play with that playmat.
And the potentially new best deck. Stay tuned. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's the main topic. That's mostly what we're talking about. Aurelia is still there. You can potentially grab that, as well as the Victor and Kaisa coins, which are very, very nice. I like using these as like a score tracker. Blevins, you like a poker shuffling. I mean, you want to stack them.
I want to poker shuffle them.
Yeah,
I need to get them. I need to get my coins.
And then you'll shuffle them.
And then I will shuffle them poker chip style, or do like the chip shuffle in my fingers like a cool guy, and definitely not fail at that because I can definitely do it, as we have confirmed many times.
Well, the other thing to check out is the tier list website at turnemsideways.gg. It has all the best ofs and the tier list. Now, I will say, no promises that this is 100% updated by the time this episode comes out. 7 banned cards that are some of the most prevalent cards across all decks in Riftbound does mean my work is cut out for me, and we've had a couple other videos we've been making this week. But I'm going to get to it, and it should be, I think, full updated by next week. I don't expect it to take much longer than that to get things up and running, at least so the fact that all the decks will be legal, and then we'll continue to work on them as the decks improve and people get to experiment more, but at least giving you guys like a baseline to go with the changes. So stay tuned, keep your eyes on the website, slam that refresh button, and you'll see there should be some new updated decks probably by early next week.
I need those decks now because as you're listening to this podcast, I will be going to a skirmish tomorrow, and I need to make sure I win that skirmish because I definitely don't already have a buy for Lille, and I also definitely can play in Lille. So it's super relevant that I get a buy at this skirmish this Saturday that I'm for some reason going to be playing it.
Are you not gonna just immediately segue that into your announcements, or no? We're good. We'll just stop there.
What do you?
Or did you want me to do it? Or did you want
forgot.
Charmer to do it?
No, you did. I want someone else to do it.
You want someone else to do it?
I don't want to plan my own birthday party.
Look,
Plan the entire own birthday party. I don't want to plan my own birthday party. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
we'll believe that.
Some of those are the best birthday parties, though, when you plan your own. But I will say,
Pastry exposing me. I definitely do want to plan my own birthday party.
Big congratulations, if you haven't seen already, to Blevins, who will be casting in Lille. So big ups there. Very excited for Blev. That should be a lot of fun. We're getting the whole squad. Next up, Charmer. We just gotta get Charmer on.
Yeah. Charmer's the only one left. We're scaling.
Only one.
And then we all have to do the same event, which
team.
might be trickier. But
Yeah, all of us on the same event. Yeah, that's the next step. That would be the next step from there.
Ooh,
Worlds. Just saying.
It's coming up.
That's not an actual announcement, by the way. That's just me hoping.
Yeah.
But
It's a year and a half away also, but it's coming up.
is it really still a year and a half away?
It's probably more
I feel
than
like
that,
this
actually.
first year of Riftbound has like flown by, but also it is that far away. You're
It's
not
like the
wrong.
end of 2027, and we're not even halfway through 2026. So
Yeah.
But we got to keep bringing it up. The more we bring it up, the more it will come true.
Yeah,
They listen.
faster
I
it'll
know
get
them.
here. Yeah.
I know people at Riot. They definitely watch this show.
Everybody look at the people at Riot watching the show right now and stare at them.
Anyway, it's one of those things where it feels like we were waiting for Origins to release yesterday, but also like, holy crap, why is Set 10 not out yet? Like it's both of those things at once. And I don't know. I can't really explain that phenomenon, but I feel like everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
I think it's largely because we're still in the infancy of the game, and we know that a lot of the mechanics are kind of like introductory, but even beyond that, there are things that we know are coming. We kind of speculated they were coming even before they were announced, but now they've even been announced. So things like third battlefields that we're going to be getting in Set 3, or the opposing domains, right? So we can do our cool mind body or order chaos shenanigans. And so I think that that's also part of the reason, for me anyway, that it feels like, yes, the game just came out, but also give me all the other cool stuff that I know is coming.
Well, cool things that we now know are coming that I'm quite confident that we talked about, or at least suggested at some point on the podcast. I think we're kind of becoming the Simpsons predicted it first of Riftbound podcasts. Maybe, or maybe I'm just thinking that. We are getting Flash promos. We alluded to it before, but now it is confirmed that local game stores are going to be getting promo versions of the card Flash. We can pay Fs.
It definitely looks like that.
It totally looks like
I
this.
wish it did.
Not
That would be
fake
so
news
awesome.
whatsoever.
Yes, if you're watching this on April 1st, even though it won't be coming out on April 1st. Yes, but coming in April, not an April Fool's. Riftbound Play Network stores are going to be receiving Flash promos to distribute to the community. And the suggested way that they are being distributed is as a reward for participating in events, a thank you to players who are mentors teaching other players, a participation reward for players who bring a new player to the store, or a gift for purchasing Riftbound products. So, I mean, really all good ways and good avenues and channels for local game stores to reward their customers, bring new people into the store. And honestly, a great way. I'm like 99% sure that we suggested almost exactly this thing on the podcast, where it's like, hey, get this hard to acquire right now and quite expensive card in local game stores and reward people playing at local game stores and going to their local game store for doing that. Like this is like one of the biggest wins I think that they've ever announced.
Yeah. The fact that this happened as quickly as it did is pretty impressive, because like make the promos playable is definitely an undercurrent in a bunch of different card games. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see them move so quickly from Proving Grounds coming out to actually we made this a promo now, and now it's going to be given out to the place where people are going to go and play games with Riftbound people. So very cool to see it happen, but also happen quickly. And I have to imagine once the card started going up in value that Riot was like, okay, this is not exactly what we wanted this product to do, so let's figure out a way to distribute more flashes. And now we have.
Yeah, and
it's like in game, everyone gets one.
Originally I would have wanted them to do all of the different like cards that you could kind of expect that you wouldn't get the full copies of, but now like Blast of Power has been power corrupt, and I mean Gentleman's Duel is the other one, which hasn't had any meta relevancy really, but we've seen a few copies pop up into a couple lists. So I if they do it, at least like it maybe in like one of the Nexus Night packs down the line though, for some of those, instead of like making it such a special promo like they're doing with Flash. But cool.
I mean, I was about to say the same thing. I was literally going to say, I do kind of hope that the 11 out of 24 for the numbering on that promo down there means that we will get the other things in Proving Grounds. I still don't own a copy of Proving Grounds, and I am hoping to get one on this, new wave, this reprint. But if you get your Proving Grounds, you still only have 2 copies. So if you want actual play sets, these promos are going to be a great way to maybe get that third copy as well. And I would like to see some of those other cards that, yes, even though they may have been power crept, It's one of those things that if you think you don't need a play set of something, 2 years will go by and then suddenly you do, and you're like, oh man, I really wish I would have picked that up. So I'd like to just get it out of the way if at all possible.
Yeah. It's a good segue though into the fact that Proving Grounds are back. They will arrive in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, more in the EU in April, and then the USA in May for more Proving Grounds. And then the Origins reprints, because they had mentioned an update in January about both of that, will be next batch will be arriving following Unleashed. Unleashed launch in stores, and a larger shipment arriving later in May. So Origin booster boxes should be arriving back to stores sometime in May. So that's not too far off.
Yeah, it's not too far off, but it also is after Lille and Atlanta. So I'm imagining people are seeing this and going, "Oh, Kaisa and other whatever else, Kaisa, Dazzling Aurora, and whatever other staples from Origins are now staples are going to rise." I think, in terms of price, just because of this. It's just a stated thing from Riot. So I mean, it's still good, and it's unavoidable. The prices were going to do what they were going to do anyway. People still are going to need Kaisa regardless of when they know that Origins is coming out. So it's definitely a good thing. It's just I don't know what you can really do, because I'm not really in favor of let's put out a bunch of promo red Kaisas and promo Dazzling Aurora so that everyone has them all. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. I guess I don't. I'm kind of conflicted, and I'm thinking about this out loud, but it does I want cards that have value, but I'm also I don't know if I want individual lowest rarity game pieces to be $150.
Yeah, I want promos to have value. I want the game pieces to be
in alt arts. Yeah,
I want them to be free and at my doorstep. I want them in my binder already.
Yeah, I do. One other thing about the Flash promo that I like is and a problem that it is likely solving for, I guess, specifically Riot or UVS, is that it's sort of a lot of the discourse has been oh, we need Proving Grounds to come out. We need Proving Grounds. We want more Proving Grounds. What people are really asking for is Flash or a few of the other cards. I guess it was Annie and Yi and those. I would say the vast majority of people that were the Tibbers enjoyers, the vast majority of people that were asking for Proving Grounds were asking for the staple cards and not the Proving Grounds set with the little chibis and everything. Maybe they wanted that, but I think most players wanted the cards, not the full box set. So I think, and what I thought would happen before it was released and before we knew all the cards, before we knew the meta, was that a product like this generally does not sell well in a local game store. A starter box product, even if it has unique cards, generally is not very good. They're usually not good enough for standard or whatever the format is. They are super beginner. So even if you are a new player, it might not be a great product to learn. I think Proving Grounds actually is quite good at that. But generally, I'm talking about generally products like this are not good. So what will happen is the stores end up buying these products as this is a way to get new players in the store, and then or to facilitate new players, and then they sit on the shelves forever, and it's a big ticket item that they've invested a bunch into and that don't sell. Then obviously the opposite of that happened for Proving Grounds, so it's a different story. But I like essentially removing the artificial demand for this giant big box product that is going to go to and sit in LGSs to, hey, here are the cards that you wanted. And now LGSs will have a better understanding of oh, I'm going to order the number of Proving Grounds that I think I'm going to want for new players, not the maximum amount because everyone has been asking for them for 5 months. So,
makes sense.
That's my diatribe on that. I think it's all around good. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the 7 elephants that are no longer in the room. 7, count them, 7 cards banned. That's 4, I guess, main deck cards and 3 battlefields. Called Shot, Draven Vanquisher, which is the red Draven, the red Spirit Forged Draven, rather, Fighter Flight, Scrap Heap, and then Dreaming Tree, Reaver's Row, Obelisk of Power. All of them got the axe. You can no longer use them in tournament play. Cass, initial thoughts here.
Well, I was wrong. I thought they may go for no changes. I thought that, we're still pretty early in the game. You may not see bans. I don't mind these. I have the most like lukewarm takes when it comes to banning cards most of the time. I'm like, if they ban cards, cool. Like I'll fit a new format to mess with. If they don't ban cards, cool. I'll keep trying to figure out what to do. So I'm definitely not the person who's going to usually have the really hot take. But what I thought was really cool about this is that they were willing to hit battlefields. And I think that's really good. I think being willing to hit battlefields is really important. It's going to help, especially the reasoning for it of like some games were getting a little too samey. Like no matter what decks are being played, you're seeing these same kind of spots. And that's not how battlefields are just fundamentally supposed to function. Like it shouldn't be that like this large percentage of decks are using the same battlefields. And that, while that is true of like Dreaming Tree and Obelisk of Power, Reaver's Row was only being used by like one deck. But the reason for that was it was very stupid in that one deck. And in general, that battlefield has been a problem forever. And I think there's a rant on this podcast of either me or Pastry Time or both of us. I think it was Pastry, though, yelling about how this will one day be banned. And no, guess what? One day is already. I think it was Julian.
Play the clip, Sam. I don't know what episode it is, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere. I've been
somewhere, dude. I don't know.
I've been a hater of Reaver's Row for so long. This card terrorized me in the trial deck. It's also horrible to explain to new players. I mean, it's just like a completely ludicrous card, and I'm glad it's gone. And I do agree with Cass. The fact that they're willing to reshape the literal battlefield by banning battlefields is a very good sign. In general, I think this is a good show of like, we hear you, we know what we're doing. Also, like, we admit that we made the game too quickly and like stuff got broken. That's also a nice thing to hear. Just being like, yeah, we made a mistake with Draven because we built the game in like less than a year, which is true. Because they had to build at least 2 sets before Origins even got released. The fact that they're willing to be like, yeah, we can just ban it, that's fine. Like, I'm of the opinion that bans are a tool you should use more frequently, not less. I think card games are tricky and people get attached to game pieces because they, are fun to collect and they like playing with them because they're powerful or they're fun or whatever. But like, if you're actually trying to manage a like well-oiled competitive landscape for your card game, you just need to do it like a League of Legends patch. Like, just hit it, get it out of there. And if you need to fix it later and say, sorry, we made a mistake, that's fine. You can unban stuff. Like, I think people so often equate bans with like, this card doesn't exist and will never exist again. That is not true. Like, bans are dynamic. Like, environments change, new things get printed, things move in and out of metagames all the time. So the fact that they're willing to be like, yep, we're looking at this, we don't like it, we're going to hit a bunch of things to try and reshape the game to a place where you think it's better, that's great. And I think that's a very good sign for the future of the game. I think some people might look at 7 bans by set 2 and be like, oh, that's kind of a meme, but I'm the opposite. I think if you're willing to admit mistakes and like reshape things in the way you want your game to be played, that is a good thing and you should do it. And the fact that it was only commons, uncommons, and rares is very nice. Although
I'm big.
If there are things that are more expensive individually on the secondary market that you should ban, I do want them to ban them. But it is nice that all the problem cards happen to be very inexpensive.
I am surprised that they banned so many cards. I was kind of in the middle between the no changes and some changes. I thought that we were going to get no changes on the day that they announced we were going to get the rules update. And I figured that they would give folks like a day or two to digest that and then drop bans. But I was not expecting 7 cards, and I was certainly not expecting 3 battlefields. I thought it might be 1 or 2 at most. I will say I have seen a fair amount of discourse from, I don't know if they're new card game players or just folks who maybe have only played like one other card game and they joined that well into the lifespan of it. But I've seen a lot of discourse about, hey, this looks bad for the game that you're having to ban stuff so early. And as somebody who's played a lot of card games for far longer than I would like to admit, it is hard for me to think of any card game launching that didn't have at least a couple of cards banned from the first 1 to 3 sets. Star Wars had the same experience. If you're talking about recent games, Flesh and Blood, which is 5 going on 6 years old now, has cards that are banned from their first couple of sets and so on and so forth. And obviously,
they were early too.
Yeah, like the grandfather of them all, Magic has broken stuff in that first set. A lot of times when a card game is being designed and developed, you know kind of what you want the game feedback loop to be, but it's hard figuring out exactly how to elegantly approach the numbers of a game like that. And so it's very, very common for something to just end up being very, very busted right out of the gate. This does not dissuade me from confidence in the game at all or anything like that. If anything, I'm just happy that they recognized it and addressed it this early.
It actually, this banning and this like group of bans has made me more confident in them as managers and wardens of the game than almost anything else has. Because there have been I mean, you scroll on Twitter, you look on Reddit, you look at any social media, you'll see people advocating for ban of a card or ban of even a couple of cards and people putting out their ban list. It's usually like 3, maybe 4 cards. Some people had more. This particular group of cards makes so much sense to me and actually addresses a lot. And obviously, like, I'm going to look like an idiot in a week when everyone's like, Aurelia is completely unbeatable now. Or like, Garen was completely untouched, so now he can't be beaten. And Aurora is dominant. It's like, okay, well, whatever. But like the problems that they set out to address have been addressed. And like, people were calling, we need Called Shot banned and we need Scrap Heap banned and that will stop Miracle Draven. It's like, bruh, the 2 most played decks are Midrange Draven and Aurelia, and neither of those decks use those cards. Those bans make no sense. Like, but no one ever has that follow-up conversation when they post their ban suggestions. So like this to me, like obviously a ton of thought put into it. They explained their, they showed their work when they talked about the bans. I think a lot of it makes sense. I was specifically in favor of bans for a reason that was that the game was doing a thing that they didn't want, like Called Shot. Being able to draw your entire deck is something that they did not want or expect to have happened this early or at this point in time for Riftbound. Like get it out. It's doing things that are bad. They also mentioned that the fact that rounds are lasting forever in tournaments is a reason that they looked at a card like Called Shot, because it's reasonable to like think about your cards that you're looking at. You're looking at 4 cards. You got to take 2. Like, it's reasonable to take that time. They just need to cut that out because the rounds are taking way too long. Yep. So I really like the bans. I do also to talk a little bit about what you mentioned, Pastry, like the fact that it's all commons and uncommons and rares, I think is actually a really good thing. Not even like secondary market prices, whatever. People, I'm not, like people using the cards as an investment, like not even thinking about that. Just people that are your regular players that are going to card their LGS, playing Nexus Nights, playing skirmishes, buying cards for however much. Like they want to have some amount of confidence that they are going to be able to use the cards that they bought or opened.
Yep.
And I think like you don't want to ban cards every single week, and you don't want to ban like high ticket cards at a very frequent base, because then like I just know from having talked to people at my local game stores, like, hey, I like this deck, like my deck got banned. I'm not a competitive player. I'm not going to chuck my deck away and spend, a bunch of money to buy another deck that might get banned. Like they don't care about that. I think that like even the casual or even like semi-competitive player is impacted by things like that. So I'm glad that happened the way it is.
Well, and now, I mean, at this point, like looking at it holistically and how this starts to affect the meta, what decks we're interested in playing and all that, I think it kind of goes to your point of not wanting to ban the expensive cards, though, just out the gates. Because one of the first things that I look at here is I see people talking about Aurora, and like Aurora is like, oh, Aurora's so good now and all this stuff. And I'm like, I think they effectively killed Purple Aurora for this set with the ban of Called Shot. Because that deck was very reliant on getting to 9 energy, casting Called Shot, and finding Aurora if they didn't find it in the opener. And when that didn't happen, they often just lost the game. So unless
how Aurora actually plays,
unless Yi Aurora is now like really, really good, even without Obelisk, then, I'm not really that concerned for Aurora, at least until Unleashed comes out, and then, we can revisit because they printed more card draw and Elder Dragon and some other stuff, right? And then, maybe it gets crazy at that point. But I think for right now, like, it's completely fine. And I think, John Mormon's video describing the reasons for each of the bans was really, really good, and it makes a lot of sense for each of these. But it also goes to show that you can kind of hit some of these other decks that maybe thought could have been a problem with some of the bans already, right? Like, I also am one of the people who immediately was like, I think Aurelia is the biggest winner here, but she did lose Fight or Flight and lost 2 battlefields, and that's not nothing. And I think the question will become like, are there decks that can start to take advantage her losing some power and then fighting back? And I was curious for each of you, like, what are some of the decks that immediately like bump into your mind as like, oh, maybe this deck is like really good now? Because I've got another video that I've gone over it, and I'll still give my takes on the pod as well, but I want to hear from all of you and give you guys some time to talk about it, since I haven't actually heard from any of you on what you're thinking's looking good. So we can go down the line or something. Pastry, you can start us off.
Ooh. So this is the thing. The things I want to play are not the things that I think will be good. That's like a very common thread. Like I am still an Aurelia player. The deck's sweet, and she definitely losing Tree hurts a lot. I still think she's going to be very good. And I do think in general, like they didn't say this explicitly, but the splash damage that happened with these bans is kind of nice, especially with banning some battlefields, because like the 2 main decks everyone thought of, Aurora and Aurelia, did lose some power as well in these bans, even though they didn't explicitly say we're doing this because we think the environment will shift and these decks will become better. Let me think. I'm trying not to think about Spirit Fudge too, which is part of the problem, because you mentioned big units. Oh, I know that guy. That deck's still the worst of his domain, including in the upcoming set, unfortunately. But very, very fun to play that one. Ari, I think actually probably gets. I think holding in general actually gets a decent amount. Ari losing Tree kind of sucks, but I think she has other ways to make up for that. Also, her losing Obelisk also kind of stinky, but everyone lost Obelisk, so it's probably okay. I do think Calm, Order, and Mind probably all got a bit better. So I mostly think like Ari and Victor feel like the winners of those decks getting powered down a little bit more. Although Kaisa maybe as well. It's just going to be back, although her really matchup sucks. So I don't know what she expects to do.
Battlefields hit as well, right? Kaisa was playing Reavers and Obelisk, right? So
true. That's I was going to mention Reavers because she was the original Reaver deck, just protecting that stupid
Kaisa was
champion for so long.
Dreaming Tree for a while too.
Yeah, not so much recently, but it is a battlefield she has used, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hard to say, but I think Victor probably, actually, of going through all the different domains I just mentioned, even though the decks I do love, I think Victor's probably feels like the biggest winner of all these. Just not quite as as getting turbo owned by like all the other stuff. And the order cards feel really well positioned in general. Maybe I'm thinking too much about Spirit Forge, Unleashed, because I'm almost assuredly going to be playing an Order Legend in that set. But those cards seem really good. Yeah. And they were already like quite good before that.
Romer, what are you thinking? What do you think is going to be good? The biggest winner?
Well, it's interesting because I think I agree that a lot of folks are going to be taking a long look at yellow kind of in general, whether it's Rek'Sai or Victor or even Lux. I've heard some folks kind of very excited to revisit Lux and variants similar to like what Grappler was piloting. And while I don't disagree with that take, and I'm hearing what you're saying about the loss of Reaver's Row, I think Kaisa might actually be the biggest winner. And my reasoning for that is, if we have a meta where people try to go wide, I think she's one of the decks that deals with it the best, especially those variants that are running the Watcher and Bellows Breath combo. You've also got Falling Star. You've got ways to deal with multiple units, especially if you're keeping the singularities in. We'll have to wait and see what the kind of breakdown is post, Draven's popularity dropping. But I think that, some number of copies still belong there. So the ability to deal with multiple units, I think, is going to be very important. But specifically, the thing that keeps jumping out to me is I do think there's a lot of folks that are still going to land on Irelia as potentially the best deck in the format now. And if that is the common thought process or the common consensus, I'd be looking at any sort of deck that can play Bryn here and then play efficient removal to deal with Irelia. Because Bryn here did not get hit. I think that that's something that might be revisited when we get to set 3 because of all of the flicker effects. But right now, I think right now, Bryn here plus stuff, especially cost efficient items like Falling Star, for example, where you don't have to have much over that 6 energy, is looking very attractive. And at the end of the day, you can still just run really efficient might units in that list. Like, yes, there's the Kaisas, but you've got the Trifarian Hopefuls still. You've got all of those things where you could kind of just, vomit out good enough units. You still have access to Ferris Forerunner. So I think Kaisa is going to end up being in a very good spot just based on not just the changes, but the rise and fall of all of the other decks as well.
That's fair. Blev, what are you looking at?
I mean, everyone knows what I'm going to say because it's obviously Lucian. Lucian was actually legitimately touched because I had a definitive, I know I'm going first battlefield in Obelisk, and I just get to play turn 1 Lucian. But that's fine. I'll just pick to go second, and I'll go second every game. Don't care. The biggest issue with that is if there actually is an uptick in Victor or Rek'Sai or Lux, like any of these, I'm just going to 1-for-1 you as many turns as possible and hope that's enough. It is enough against at least current builds of Lucian because you will just die. So if those decks are actually being played at a clip, if they're a relevant portion of the meta, Lucian looks way worse. If it's going to be Kaisas and Aurelias and other decks that are like, even I think that there's still probably going to be mid-range Draven around, and maybe even some sort of miracle looking version. I think that it's still going to exist in some form. It'll just obviously look quite different. Then I like Lucian a lot. The thing that I would like to go back and actually revisit if there's not going to be, 25-30% mid-range Draven or, Bryn here Rebuke decks is Ornn. That was a deck that I wanted to play anyway. Like I just decided not to play it because I'm not going to lose no matter how much I set up to Bryn here plus Rebuke your Ornn. I'll pay all the runes for Deflect, don't care, you lose. I didn't want to lose that. If that's not going to be, if the meta looks a little bit different, maybe Ornn looks better. The last one I'll talk about, we saw a decent number of people playing it, or at least in the early rounds when I was watching and casting in the Laughing Dragon event that we put on this very channel. Was the Rat Ezreal deck actually was making a little bit of a resurgence. It's running.
It's back.
The pit crews, the equipment package, the sneaky deckhands. Like, it was actually a very aggressive version of Ezreal that also just had like good value. And yes, I believe that deck was still running Called Shot, but it was not necessary in the same way that it is in the control version, where it's like, I need this one specific piece. It's like, no, it's just a draw 2, and it's the cheapest way to draw 2 in that deck, or it was before it got banned, obviously. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if we see these more aggressive Ezreal or even Teemo. Like, Teemo can run very similar package, like Specie's version from the Best of in Bologna.
I'll note for you, Blood, that Ezreal deck that got second, it was not the Rat version, but it was the sneaky deckhand Gust Windsinger version. Did not have any banned cards in it, if I remember correctly. No Called Shot, no scratch.
Yes, yeah. I guess it's not. They're not all.
I thought it had.
They're not
fighter
all
flights.
Rat.
It may have had fighter flights, but
because I thought part of it was also pushing away. That was the only one that I thought that deck had, because I was thinking about that same thing, Cass.
Yeah, it almost certainly had fighter flights.
Like, you're probably right. It probably did have fighter flights, but no, I mean, I think
like that aggressive package looked really good.
I think that is like a good list of some of the ideas. I think my idea of the meta, it's going to shift a lot because there's a lot of changes, right? There just are enough changes for it to shift. I think one of the bigger winners is Kaisa. I agree with Charmer there. I think Aurelia being a winner makes the Kaisa being a winner scary. But Aurelia being a winner makes Victor a winner. And if Victor's a winner, then Kaisa's a winner, right? So we're ending up with this this meta that starts to spread out a little bit more between some of these decks, at least at the start. At least until we understand if mid-range Draven is still just maybe it's still one of the better decks. Maybe it still can start gatekeeping a lot of these other lists. I think a deck that's very interesting to me is going to be Rek'Sai. You get the yellow stuff to deal with, Aurelia, deal with some of these other big like unit decks. You get the Swarm to deal with anybody who's trying to go over the top, like if they're just trying to play like, Aurora or anything like that. And then you still have Bryn here as an option in the sideboard to deal with some of these decks where you like Aurelia even more so if you want, or Ornn if that is a deck that you actually need to start worrying about. You've got kind of these answers. And it's in red, so if Kai'Sa is that popular, which would normally be the scary thing as a Swarm deck or a deck like this, you can just play 3x Ferris Forerunner in your main board if Kai'Sa is that prevalent, which I think with how the deck pilots and operates nowadays, it probably would be enough to make the matchup quite manageable. So I think there's some really cool ideas there with Rek'Sai. I think that's one I'm going to want to experiment with. It's really funny because I was thinking about trying to play Leona for Lille, and then the bans came out, and I'm like, is this meta going to be somehow more hostile for Leona than it would have been previously? And I'm like, okay, in set 1, what were the worst matchups for Leona? It was Kai'Sa and Victor.
14 bad matchups.
And everything else is kind of fine. Like Kai'Sa and Victor were the hard ones, everything else is fine, which was enough to make it not a meta deck. And now it's like, okay, what were the worst matchups now in Spirit Forged? It's like, oh, Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Victor. And I guess Draven to an extent, right? Draven was tough, but the Fight or Flight ban would help with that. So I think it's quite funny that I somehow may need to be looking for a new deck to play. And instead, though, it might be fun to try and solve the format with 7 bans in. I think that, like, instead of just playing for a best of, maybe trying to win the tournament might end up being the angle, and looking for something that gives actual real competitive edge. And I think that might be where I'm headed. And I think Rek'Sai is my starting place as a deck that I think could be a tournament-winning deck that just needs a little bit of work on it.
Feels like Set is actually well positioned if it's Aurelia. Yeah. If it's Aurelia, Kai'Sa, a little bit of latent Draven holdover feels pretty good. You probably don't want to hit Victor ever, but like, especially with Tree getting banned, like Monastery of Verona is actually one of the better engines left in the Battlefield pool. Yeah. And Set is like basically the only deck that can abuse it because Lee Sin sucks. So I think it is also worth looking at like what battlefields that are really good are left that I can abuse that other decks can't, because that is a way to get an edge. And that's kind of the nice thing about Obelisk getting banned. It was such like a good generic battlefield that everyone played it, and it had a bunch of problems, but homogenizing the game was certainly one of the more minor but maybe more visible ones. But if your deck is really good at playing at a specific battlefield and the other decks are not, and you can leverage that to draw a bunch of cards, which is usually one of the more powerful things you can do, that is something you should probably consider when picking decks for this upcoming format, because battlefields are strong as it turns out. That's why they banned 3 of them. Yeah,
I mean, Fiora in that same vein. The only pushback I'll give you on Set is I've got some friends, friend of the channel, Gangly, if any of you know him from a TFT casting royalty. He's a very big Set TFT
raps.
Absolutely loves Set. He sent me a message. He's like, I think Set's well positioned. And I was like, oh, does it have a good Aurelia matchup? He said, no, Aurelia is the worst matchup that Set has. But
that's crazy.
A lot of the other ones are good that you were pointing out. They are actually good matchups. So
Aurelia matchup sucks. Yeah. I don't want to play.
Yeah.
Like, if you go beat Aurelia by punching her in the face, like how are you supposed to win? Like, conceptually in my head, if Body cannot beat Aurelia ever, it's like, why would we ever play this domain? This is just horrible.
The problem is your whole thing is backline access, right? Because she just runs in circles. She just conquers both and runs away from you. Yeah.
That's true.
And then
you don't have
when you're trying to set up to kill her, she just charms you in and is like, haha, nah, boo boo. You know, that's the classic Aurelia line. I think that was one of her main voice lines in League of Legends.
Yes, one of the OGs.
Well, you bring up Set, you bring up Monastery of Hirana, and also Lucian catching shade here. I don't know why. This does actually lead into the next segment here. Another obviously massive part of the week. We've got some rules updates. And Cass, I know you actually, as of right now, you can go and watch the video on the Term Sideways YouTube channel. You've got a long video that definitely did not take a long time to edit and was very easy and seamless to put out. That goes over all of the
traumatizing
updates and changes. One of which is actually the interaction and an interaction with Monastery of Hirana, or at least it is Monastery of Hirana gets caught by this interaction.
Yeah, a good one to start with, right? So Monastery, now you need to have a buff to pay to put the Monastery trigger on the stack. If you don't have a buff, you can't do it. So the old set thing that you could do. You didn't really do this often with like set conquering and getting a buff and then spending that buff to Monastery. But what you did do it with very frequently was the like one of Warmogs that would go in the deck, or some people even played like 3 of Warmogs, where you'd use Warmogs on your Monastery game so that you would conquer, Warmogs would generate a buff, and then you would spend the Warmogs buff to draw. But that you cannot do anymore because you need a buff to even put the Monastery trigger on the stack.
That's very big change.
Yeah. So this is
legitimately was what I was going to do with Lucian, but can't do it.
Yeah. So this is, and it's not just Monastery, right? This is anything that is a May. You need to have the conditions. So the other really big one is Overzealous Fan. You may now sacrifice the fan in order to do the ability, when before the ability would go on the stack and you would decide in resolution whether or not to kill the fan and go. So now fan, when it triggers, you decide, do I kill this to then put it on the stack? Which is, funny enough, a buff and a nerf to fan. It is a nerf in that if you not so fast it, the fan is still dead. Whereas before, if you not so fast the fan ability, now you have a 2-might fan that's sitting there. That's really annoying. It made green not actually have this as a real answer into fan. However, orange loses Cannon Barrage as an answer into fan. There is now no window in which you can activate the Cannon Barrage when swinging in to outstack the fan. And this is something I grilled Grenton about in our video about the rules, because I was like, surely there's a way. Like, surely you could outstack. There's a window here where I can outstack the fan, and it is not. You would need some kind of outside circumstance that allowed you to outstack it. It would not be. You cannot do it in response to any of the like attack, defend, trigger spot there. So, very cool. And there's anything that basically has a May and has a cost associated with that May, you need to have that cost available to you before you can actually even put it on the chain.
Yeah. It legitimately, when I saw Obelisk got banned, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need to figure out what my I'm gonna need to figure out another battlefield for Lucian, and then I found out about this ruling, and it's like, oh, okay, it's actually not like I'm not running pit rookies and other. I'm basically running no other buff cards in Lucian, so can't really run the Monastery here. So I got to go back to the
Leona, Leona, though, still works.
Yep, Leona.
You do it in the order that is favorable. That just came to me. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
anyway,
when you swing in, you'll stun, and then you'll have a buff by the time you conquer.
True. Yeah. Or if you pre-stun and then roll in, also works. And that deck does a lot of pre-stunning.
Yes.
Legion.
Legion
not just an
is
expansion.
Also now updated.
From a different game from many moons ago. Also a rule that got changed.
It is a rule that got changed. Legion basically needs another card to have finalized on the chain. So basically just needs another card from your deck to be played to activate Legion. Sundisk no longer will trigger itself. So when you play Sundisk, you can no longer then immediately use its Legion effect, seeing itself. You do need to play another card. It effectively, this Legion thing is a nerf to Sundisk. However, it is overall a buff to Legion, and you may be asking why. That doesn't really make any sense, because Sundisk is now just worse, and Legion decks, they might like Sundisk, but finalizing on the chain is before the spell would be countered. So if you cast a spell, even if it gets denied or defied or countered in any way that you would like, it still counts as being finalized on the chain, which does activate Legion for the turn. This is not the same as Darius Trefarian. If he counterspells, it still doesn't work for Darius Trefarian because he's not Legion. He just needs 2 cards played, and played is essentially resolved. And so he still sees himself. He still does not see things that are countered. But Legion would see something countered as still counting as for Legion, which is, overall a buff to decks that are playing a lot of Legion. And then just, of course, a nerf if you want to play Sundisk. It's now a slower card. It's still good, but it's slower.
And I would also say indirectly a nerf to counterspell heavy decks, just because sometimes that was your tactic when you're trying to play around some of those Legion effects. And also, I guess theoretically, it's a buff to the Darius Legend because it's got Legion right on it, right? It's not the wording as the Darius Champion card. So that's, I guess, great if you're a Darius enjoyer. And I know there's a few on our channel that do like to dunk.
Nobody here likes Darius.
No, certainly not on this panel.
if they add the Dunkmaster Darius skin to anything, I will be full bore like on that deck and using that card in the deck. Don't care. Yeah, I do like that they are doing these sort of big, almost foundational, like not change. I mean, they are changes, but it's all almost like establishing foundational parts of the rules. Especially for something like Legion, which feels like it is going to be a like evergreen mechanic. It's not going to be like, oh, this set focuses on Legion. It's like there may be a few cards in any set that have Legion. So I like that. We did also get one of the more complex, I would say, interactions that made the Allen's Ezreal control deck feel absolutely broken, and the card Vex feel even more broken than the first time you have it in combat, which is the interaction between Ezreal Prodigy and Vex Cheerless. Cass, what is the TLDR on this?
Yeah, the basic thing is cost reduction needs to be applied when it becomes relevant now. So, or like the first time it's relevant. So basically when you are going to pay for a repeat cost, you would reduce the repeat cost immediately, and then it would sum, and then any other cost reductions would come through. So instead of summing first and then allowing you to do cost reductions in any order, it's the first time it becomes relevant. So the optional costs for Ezreal, the second you play a card, you're going to have to do the accelerate reduction, or you're doing the repeat reduction immediately. And then from there, Vex would have to reduce. And that means that Vex's minimum of 1 is actually a real thing now. So you can't just be casting free Bellows Breaths with Ezreal and a Vex Cheerless in combat. So now it's more optimal to use Ezreal to reduce the power cost, and then just play a 1 energy, 0 power Bellows Breath, which is, to be honest, significantly more fair than the 0 energy, 1 power Bellows Breath that we were seeing being cast by this deck. And so, a little bit of a nerf hitting Ezreal. And I mean, I say a little bit. It is a large nerf when compounded with the Called Shot ban, the Fight or Flight ban. Even Ezreal's were playing Obelisk sometimes as well. So, quite a few hits to Ezreal in this overall BNR plus rules changes. So we'll see if Ezreal can hold on without this Vex combo. It's still good to combine these two things together, but it's just not
before
as
you
good.
Complain, Ezreal players, your champion didn't get banned. Just think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. You got to hold on to it.
Prodigy really could have been on that list.
Yeah, you say, to be fair, the 1 cost, no power Bellows Breath is fair. It is still not fair. That is still just very much not fair. But
looking like a Lucian player.
Definitely. Although, I mean, repeated Bellows Breath, that only does 2 damage. So Lucian's usually bigger than that. So, but yeah,
Rigid touch
still destroys me.
And
let's be clear. I still get completely destroyed by that. It's just not necessarily game breaking immediately. We have got some combat changes. I'm relying completely on you, Cass, because I have not watched the video yet.
I can tell by you saying we've got combat changes, because basically, no, we don't. The thing is,
we don't have combat changes.
I saw there are like
April Fools.
Look, there's a lot in this rules update. I'm not here to tell you all about that. That's why I made a video with an L3 judge, so he could tell you all about it. So go watch that video.
Go watch it right now.
All the info, right? Yeah. But
I'm watching it right now.
A lot of people had this misconception that, like, oh, they nerfed Draven as well, because now when you rebuke things or push them, not fight or flight, or there's a unit not there anymore, it wouldn't count as a combat win. I saw people on Twitter like saying this stuff.
Yep.
That is not true. That is just not true. If Draven sends in his unit and rebukes your guy, he won a combat. If Draven is defending and they stun your guy and your guy gets recalled home, Draven won the combat. It's still the same. You're still stay mad, I guess. I don't know. Like, you're gonna have to look at that face and look at your opponent's face while they draw a card after rebuking your unit. Still, even though fight or flight is not there to bother you anymore, it can't hurt you anymore. You don't have to be afraid of fight or flight anymore. Rebuke still kind of bites sometimes. So that's all for that one. I just want to make sure that people know that that's there.
We have wait. Is there a change with this, or is this just scaring people for Unleashed?
This is. I was going to say this is just the producer jump scaring me. That's what's happening.
Yes. This is just to scare everybody. Thrill the Hunt plus Bryn here.
Deer in the headlights.
I don't know what you wanted me to do with this one, Sam. I don't have a slide for that. I don't know.
Anyway, the last rules change.
We got prevented from talking.
Because Aphelios got nerfed. One of the most mid units in all of Calm. Even worse now, thanks to the rules changes. TLDR attaching and re-equipping works differently. So this is a buff to Baited Hook and Baited Hook Enjoyers, and a nerf to Jax. Get owned.
Yep, basically. Yeah, this one, we got to I was talking to Grenton about the rules changes. He's bummed about this one in particular because he was the source of truth for how that rule should work. He was the one who kind of saw that. He made the document about it. And he was right in the old rules. That is how it should have worked, because Jax should have been able to re-equip and have these effects happen. But now in the updated rules, the TLDR is this doesn't work. You can't reattach for Brutalizer, can't reattach for Aphelios.
It's illegal.
Yep.
So wait, explain how is this good for Baited Hook?
Because Baited Hook wants to kill the units that they brutalize, so you don't care that you can't reattach them because that thing's dead AF.
Yeah,
that's why it's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Pastry's not saying the rules are good for Baited Hook. He's just saying,
Baited Hook is just a good card. Yes.
Brutalizer Baited Hook Brutalizer did not get nerfed, and Jax did. So Baited Hook Enjoyers rejoice.
Gotcha.
It is also another reason to consider running Temple as your battlefield, since we're talking about battlefields that might be trying to replace Obelisk or ones that have gained value. Cass and I were casting an event this weekend, and we saw some folks kind of missing the opportunity to use the unattached portion of Temple, and now there's a reason to use that battlefield if you do want to continue to use Brutalizer. So
that's true.
Think of that.
Also, thanks for reminding me. Baited Hook Enjoyers down horrendous because Obelisk was far and away the best battlefield in the game, and I spent every single best of 3 trying to convince my opponent to play Obelisk when I didn't, so I could play Baited Hook on turn 1, and now it doesn't matter. And everyone's coming for me because everyone's scared of Aurora, so not a good look for you, boy. But we soldier on.
Yeah.
I will say that the temple, the unequip
Veil Temple, yeah.
Veil Temple, yeah, sorry. Yeah. The unequip line, that interaction is the first time I've gotten an opponent to do the pick up and read a card of their own card.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what? Okay, I'm gonna conquer, I'm gonna unattach this Trinity Force, and they're like, wait, how are you doing that? And I'm like, it's on your battlefield. And they're like, wait, what? Like getting your opponent to read their own battlefield at a skirmish, that's an achievement.
Only
Lucian can do.
The lesser known part of that. But the other temple actually did get not a change to how it works, but how combat steps, cleanup stuff works. Deeper explanations, again, other video. Don't expect this out of me. That's not my job. That's not, I'm just here to tell you how it works. Not the rule line of text on why it works that way.
Might be your job on this show.
See, this is why I've never become a level 1 judge, because I can always say, I love 1 judge, sorry.
Sunken Temple now. If you attack into Sunken Temple with Assault, and the Assault is the reason you were above a 5 and you conquer, you can now spend on the Sunken Temple. That all happens before it drops Assault and Shield. Assault and Shield stay until after that step. I can't describe what that step is. I'm just telling you it works now. If you want to know how it works or why it works, other video.
Temple
L3
gamers
judges can explain that.
So
I can tell you that it does work, but yeah, other video tells you why it works. Sorry,
Ringo's going to go crazy style, actually.
Yeah, but yeah, Sunken Temple a lot better for anybody who's on assault type stuff. That's important for you, Blevins, on your Lucian. That might,
and you know what? Definitely 100% knew that didn't work before this very conversation, and I have been playing it correctly. I am definitely sure of that.
So
check the bots.
The biggest takeaway from this episode is if you have a battlefield that didn't get banned that has the word draw on it, you should look at it again. That's the biggest takeaway from this show.
You should
potentially even for the first time.
Yeah, there's a lot. Look, the reason we even did that other video, straight up, I read the rules update. My eyes glazed over immediately. I didn't understand anything that I was reading. I was like, I don't know what is happening here. We did the video with Grenton, L3 Judge. He understands it. He explains it, and then we try and put like a bow on it at the end of each topic that is just like, this is how it works now. If you care about the why, he explained the why, but if you don't, that's how it works. So that's how I need it for games. I just need to know how stuff works, and then I'm good. I don't need why. I just need to know how.
Yeah. And if your eyes glaze over on rules videos and rules explanations, even if you have the video, if this very podcast video gets 1,000 likes, I will read the transcription of the rules video in iambic pentameter. And if you don't know what that is, read a book written by Shakespeare specifically, because that's what his writing style. Anyway, we've got our favorite segment of the show.
I really hope we get 1,000 likes now.
Yeah, I mean, I for some reason said it, so it's gotta happen. There you go.
It's gotta happen now.
1,000 likes on this podcast episode. We'll be getting the Shakespearean reading of the rules update by me. Why did I do this? Anyway, we've got our mailbag segment. If you want your question potentially on a future episode of The Winning Point, get your comments in while you're liking multiple times on this very video. And we can potentially get it on a future episode. This one is from your boy Mac. Says, hey guys, love the podcast. Had a question for Casanova. I'm about to have the mid-range Fiora deck on the Turn Sideways website 100% completed, and I wanted to know, when it comes to sideboard, how do I know what to take out of the deck for the sideboard cards? I usually know what's best to add in from the sideboard, but knowing what to take out is tricky. Any tips? Love this question.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think in general, when you're looking at deck lists online, if they don't have a sideboard guide, this advice is going to help, because unfortunately, the way that I currently build deck lists in Riftbound, in a lot of other games, I like very clean ins and outs. In Riftbound, I'm pretty vibes coded on my sideboard. I think I really like basing it kind of on the match and what cards I was seeing. If I was seeing a lot of, specific cards for a matchup, then I'm going to bring in X amount of stuff. The other big thing, though, for sideboarding in Riftbound that changes versus other games is it can depend on whether or not you think you're going to be going first or second. And I think that's one of the big things, especially for Fiora. We're going to use Fiora as a context to help our friend out. I think if you are going second as Fiora, you can side out a lot of 2-drops. You can take out a bunch of 2s to fit cards that you think are good in your sideboard for the matchup, because you're always going to have Fiora worthy for that first turn of the game out of the champ zone. And I think that, if you're going to go first, you don't want to take those out. So then it becomes down to, what can I take out from my spell suite, maybe for spells? You don't want to mess up your ratios too hard oftentimes, right? So like, think about what's coming in, what's coming out. Like, if I'm putting 3 spells in that are good for this matchup, maybe I need to take out the 3 spells that are the worst for the matchup out of the deck to keep the ratios sound, because often you can assume that the way a deck was built has certain ratios in mind. And that's like a general rules of thumb that I would give for when you see somebody's posted a deck list and there's not a sideboard guide, a way that you can look at it. Like, okay, this card seems like it's going to be good for this matchup. It's a unit. Okay, I'll take out a unit that feels not as good for the matchup. Okay, this is a spell. I'll take out a spell that's not as good for the matchup. Oh, I'm going second. I'll take out some 2-drops to just fit the cards that I like. And that can ignore the spell versus unit rule, just because if you're going second, and you have a champ zone unit that can do it, you don't care about those 2-drops because they're always worse than they are on turn 1. And if you're not even playing it on turn 1, do you even really want them in the deck? And that's kind of how I see it a lot of the time for these kind of decks. So that's my base level advice. And that's more a little tuned towards Fiora, but it also can work for most decks that you see online. Yeah. Anyone else got tips on sideboarding and Riftbound and how you feel about it?
No. Pure vibes.
Sick.
Bring in a Ducatron when you see Aurora and pray.
Yep, there you go. Play the screen
usually card. My go-to is kind of an extension of what Cass is saying. What do I not want to draw? What is not going to be helpful in this situation? Because at least recently with the Miracle Shell, it was very common to also have a main deck that had a lot of 1 and 2 ofs that are kind of generically good in every matchup. And if the situation arises, then you just save it because you're drawing your whole deck anyway. You're going to see it and use it. And then in those matchups where those situations you just know are not going to come up, then you can pull them out, bring in some of the stuff that's going to be a bit more useful. Now that the Miracle Shell is going away, I would just say, again, situationally, what are cards that if it's in my hand, am I going to feel bad about? Or if I'm in those top deck situations and I, look at the top card of my deck, am I disappointed? Is this not what's going to help me? Then those would be the things that I would feel more comfortable with sideboarding out.
I had Lonely Porrows in my Aurelia sideboard for a while, so I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to talk about. Sometimes on the
flavor fail, there should only
sometimes on the play you just need a more Porrows. I don't know what to tell you.
There you go.
I like it. The only other thing I'll add, I'm actually looking at my sideboard notes from the first skirmish I won with Annie, and this is from Tarek Patel, who posted their sideboard guide. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this one has take out 3 scrap heap after game 1 every time, because you're like, it also can line up with your battlefield, which is also really an interesting thing to think about with in Riftbound. Like it goes into battlefield theory where you have your opening battlefield, your I know I'm going first and I know I'm going second battlefields, and like your sideboarding can also and should also align and think about that, and that sort of ties in with everything else.
Yeah,
so
that is good advice.
Keeping those things in mind is going to help you. Like at first I was just like, read sideboard guide, do thing, and then as I started doing that, I'm like, oh, I'm taking out the scrap heaps. Oh, right, because I'm playing Zon Warrens in game 1 every single time. So I want to have the scrap heap for Zon Warrens. This is back before scrap.
I was going to say the best advice is to take out the ban cards and put in legal cards. That is good advice.
I then boarded out the fighter flights and all that stuff. Actually, that Annie deck played almost all of those cards. Anyway,
interesting.
It turns out those cards are pretty good.
Wait, Annie? Anyway, with that is going to be it for this episode. Lots and lots of stuff has happened in this one. So let us know what you thought in the comments below. Again, check out shop.turnhemsideways.gg for all the awesome merch we have. Check out turnhemsideways.gg and put Cass to work, and Cass and Randy to work. Get that new meta guide out, those new meta decks out, so that I can have the deck ready for my skirmish that I, for some reason, am playing this Saturday, and we will be ready with it. But that is going to be it for this episode number 40 of The Winning Point. For Casanova, for Charmer, for Pastry Time, for the whole Turn 'em Sideways crew, I am Blevins. See you on the next one.
1,000 likes right now. Do it. Do it right now. 1,000. 1,000.